living, where we try and help you simplify and improve aspects of your personal and professional life. I have two amazing, exciting guests tonight that I can't wait to share with you. I met them through Stacy, who you saw in our previous show as we were talking about diversity in the workplace. And after listening to their podcast, I had to have them here to learn more about it and to allow them to introduce themselves to you so that you can enjoy that too. The hosts of the Purpose Addicts podcast, Shane and brain's blowing up already tonight. Shane and Victor, the two hosts and creators of the podcast. So tell us a little bit about yourselves and about the podcast that you all started.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go first, Shane.
Yeah, I should have probably told you that in pre-production.
Yeah, that's all right. So I am Vic, better known as Coach on the show. My background is career-wise started out in sales, and I've spent a good majority of my career in learning and development. In that umbrella, I serve as a professional coach, both personally and professionally, to a lot of individuals. I've served as a mentor and coach to different professionals over the years, as well as I've done some, coaching in my spare time for youth sports. And as for me, I have a passion for helping people. And that's kind of what drove me to where I am now in my career. I've always been in a place to try to help empower people to elevate who they are, their results that they produce, and just their lives. Because I think that if we can help each other get to a better space, then we can all live a better life. It's not about being selfish. So that's enough about me. I'll turn it over to Shane.
I am Shane Calhoun. I guess I should properly introduce myself as Dr. Calhoun, but that is still kind of odd to me. I am a educator, by trade a band director. I've been teaching for 13 years. I also coach varsity basketball, little music production. So if you read my bio, it's all over the place. It's just technically educator, author, scholar, producer, all kinds of stuff. I'm a music guy, have a bouncing 3-year-old little boy that takes all my time, and that's just me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Well, you created a podcast called Purpose Addicts. So what does purpose mean to you? And what brought you to believe in this so passionately that you're putting the time into producing a weekly podcast?
For me,
go ahead.
Yeah, I guess purpose is kind of, for me, is what we're put here to do and be. And it's a daily, day out walk that can change from year to year, month to month, week to week. Me and Vic laugh all the time. Who we are now is totally different to who we were just a year ago, or even just 2 years ago when we actually started talking about developing the podcast. So this is purpose is just about walking in, or my personal belief of purpose is about walking in who you believe you are and what you believe you were put here to do. And that's just my idea of it.
Yeah, I would say purpose for me is all about what you expect of yourself. I think that if we believe that we can achieve great results, then we will. Like, I'm the type of person that I try to remove, and here I am. I try to remove the words try out of my vocabulary, because if I start to say that I am are the two most powerful words that exist in the English language, because anything you say after that is what will come to fruition. So purpose for me is all about your I am, what you believe you can do, what you believe you can achieve. And because it's so powerful and energy is contagious, you have the ability to inspire others to be great in their walks. And that's a lot of our relationship. Shane and I have been friends over 20 years now, and our walk together has helped to inspire one another and shape one another to not only pursue our passions and our purpose, but never stop pursuing those same passions and purpose.
It's one thing to pursue your purpose and dedicate time to it.
I think
It's
you're
another-
muted.
No, I can hear.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Go for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
All right. So it's one thing to try and find your purpose and work to better achieve it. It's another thing to help other people find and maybe achieve their purpose. But then you both are taking it to a whole nother level, which is not only are you trying to help others, but you're creating a platform that is more universal, that you can help a wider audience. How do you go about this? How do you think people can discover what their purpose is? And what are some of the barriers that we face finding and achieving our purpose?
Yeah. So let's give a little background on the show and how we got here. The original name of the show was not going to be Purpose Addicts.
Be about it.
Yeah, that's right. So the original name we picked was Be About It, right? Because Shane and I were always of this mentality that if you're going to walk the walk, right, if you're going to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And so you got to be about it. Whatever you say you got to do, you got to be about it. And what was it? Maybe 2 weeks before we planned to launch the first episode, Shane? Yeah. Was it something like that?
It was, I think we had either launched or it was after. Basically, we didn't think it through in the pre-production of it. We found out that somebody had already had a podcast named Be About It. So multiple. So we kicked the name and the idea around of, different names, and we landed on Purpose Addicts.
And, we landed there, mind you, when we figured this out, that there were multiple shows that were named Be About It. He called me and we're talking about it. And literally right there on the phone is where we talked through the name. What is it that we want to accomplish? And we just kept saying, we want people to fall in love with pursuing their purpose the same way that we have. Our relationship and how we've helped to push and motivate other people. And we want people to become addicted to that. And then I remember there was this silence. And from that silence, it was like, hey, what do you think about Purpose Addicts? And it stuck with us. It grew on us. We thought about it. We even told ourselves, let's take a couple of days to chew on it.
Initially, we said Purpose Junkie. But we was like, the guy Junkie sounded just so much worse than Addict or something about it. So we took a couple days and we landed there. It was like the conversation was as simple as, how does it sound to you today? And we're like, it sounds great, so let's run with it.
Yeah. And so to your question about the barriers that exist in finding purpose, I think there's a lot of mental barriers that we have to overcome as individuals that keep people from discovering, walking in, and fulfilling their purpose. And some of that comes from past experiences where they've tried and failed. Some of that comes from just core values. If you've never been around people who uplift you and tell you that it's okay to fail, it's really hard to see that anything is possible or that you can have a better life. And so when we think of the show and our conversation, we are trying to help people and be a part of their circles in this platform and in this space in the event that they don't have that support system and that support group. We're telling them and showing them not only from our experiences, but from our experiences who are still trying to do it. We're not, people who are these super successful individuals who, let me tell you how we became successful and millionaires. And that's just not who we are. We're everyday people who are your neighbors and your community members who are pursuing our purposes in life. And we understand that purpose is infinite. It doesn't stop.
100%.
So you're actually sharing as you're going through the journey yourselves and thinking about what are the different aspects of purpose? What are the different themes that someone should consider? They're actually following along with you while you're on the same journey. So as you're learning, they're learning. How do you tell, for the people who haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, what is a typical show like?
The typical show will start with, your normal introductions. And I just have to point this out because our brains kind of are always in sync. Vic literally took the answer right outside of my head of what I felt the purpose of the podcast was. It's kind of odd listening to it, but the show kind of starts with normal banter introduction. How you doing? How's the family? Kiss the baby, that kind of thing. And then we share a segment called What Blew Your Mind. So there may be a couple things that I've heard throughout the week that have really had my brain ruffled. Like I have 2 this week for the show that I can't wait to get to. And then we begin to talk. After that, we get into the crux of the conversation of whatever the theme is. We don't pre-record anything. We don't talk about anything. Usually we just shoot the topic and we just say, hey, what do you like to talk about? This, and this. And we meet and we go for about an hour and a half. And then we end with a motivational quote, which Vic usually takes. And that's the pod in a whole. And it's just what I appreciate most about the podcast. And I didn't realize it until we had this conversation, is the rawness and the vulnerability that we experience in the midst of it. Mm-hmm. Because like Vic said, we are very much so walking this journey of being addicted to our purpose and just having a platform to vent and get that out on a weekly basis is really cool.
Recent feedback I was actually talking with a guy today. He mentioned that one of the aspects that he likes about the show is the fact that we are not on the same page. We don't always agree. We disagree. Which is good. And when I think about it, when people give me that feedback, I don't think we disagree. And no. I guess I don't see it that way. But if you take a step back and a lot of our perspectives, I think our approach to the same thing is often different. And that may be perceived as we disagree, which gives us that banter, which has existed ever since we were kids riding, to school together. That's just how we've always been.
Yeah. It's not a disagreement. It's a lot of the time our ideas overlap. It's just the lens in which we see it. And like Vic said, our approach to it.
And I think that really comes across strongly in the show. The banter, the conversation, the trust that you have, it translates almost like you're sitting down with a couple of friends and listening to one of the most interesting conversations. And your disagreements aren't arguments, but they're productive, saying, well, I have this perspective, or you have this perspective, or what about this? Or maybe, this is more important than the other. I can understand that, but here's where I was looking at it. And I think working through that between each other in that conversation helps people work through it in their own mind and helps internalize that situation as well.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. I was thinking as you were talking again, like the name of the podcast could easily be Fly on the Wall, where it's just two buddies getting together talking, and whoever's listening on the other end, it just has the opportunity to be the fly on the wall to hear some of the conversations that we have.
That's how it's always been, though, because when we were in high school, we would ride to school together. We would go everywhere together. Every time you saw one, you saw the other. And so people would ride with us, and they would always be in the back seat because we gave each other priority to the front seat. It was automatic shotgun, as we called it. So the people who would ride in the back, later on, we would find out what their experience was like, because they would tell us, you could just sit in the back seat and just listen to those two talk. And it's one of the most entertaining conversations you have been a part of. And that was what we wanted the show to feel like. We wanted the show to feel like you're coming along for a ride with us. Sit in the back seat, hang on. I promise you'll have a good time.
With as well as the two of you get along, it would be easy to think that, you just set up a time, you start recording, you have this conversation, you have, the 3-part script you go by. But there's actually, I think you all take an interesting approach to the preparation. So tell us a little bit about the theme or the idea for the show. And then what are the parts of the show that you share with each other ahead of time versus you're hearing it live as if we were sitting in the back of the car with you?
I'll take this one. And I would say on my end, absolutely zero. I probably spend more time talking to myself about the topic than actually talking to him about it. And I think that's the the difference in our personalities. I'm very last minute, sporadic, fly by the seat of my pants. Vic is very by the book, line, need to have a plan, need to have a focus. So when I say we literally don't have much conversation outside of the title, that's literally how the conversation goes. Now, within myself, like last week, we did the show. The name of the show was There's Levels to This. And that topic came up because I was just thinking about the different conversations we'd had the week before. And it took me down a path where I was experiencing the different levels or the failure to reach different levels within my life. So I literally spent the whole week, if you want to call that preparation, talking to myself about it. And, you know, I called him one day and said, hey, brother, how you like this topic? He was like, cool. And that was as much prep as we are. Vic is organized and structured. I just read the comments. That is as much prepping as we do on this end. The other, you know, funny thing, just about an hour ago, he called me. He said, hey, they sent you questions for the interview we're doing today. I'm like, yeah, cool. I'll check it out. Sorry, I hadn't got to it yet, you know, but that's just my personality.
And I knew he, one, hadn't looked at the questions, two, probably wasn't going to look at the questions. But out of the two of us, somebody has to be the responsible one.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's, you know, with any good relationship, with any good partnership, you complement, or else you would get bored. And even as we were starting up, you know, I logged into the studio ahead of time to set up, and I'm like, hey, do you know Doc's username? I don't know if he's going by Shane or Doc, because I can't invite him to this show unless I know what his name is. Luckily, you had a really unique last name, and it popped out and was able to add you. But I think that balance, that harmony comes across, and it actually, with the shows I've been able to listen to so far, and I am catching up, there seemed to be more prep because the conversation went so well and it was so deep on both levels. Like, it was really the level of transparency that you've described, and actually getting into these topics and sharing what you had learned. It seems like there had been more discussion, more prep to find, okay, there's 100 things we could talk about, but here's the 3 or here's the 5 that are most important. So it's amazing that isn't necessarily the case.
You know, funny enough, I wish that there was more prep into this, but truthfully, that is a part of that balance. Like, when I want to be so organized and prep, Shane will go, nah, we don't need to do that. Like, let go of that structure, kick all of that out of the way. And I hear his voice in my head correct me in other parts of my life when I want to be super structured, say, nah, you don't need that. You don't need that, man. Let's just freestyle. Let's just go. We have an idea. This topic is really our passion. It's about who we are. And the best part of our conversation is when we can draw on some real natural, organic, in the moment experiences, really and truly. On my side, you know, my prep is probably similar to his. If we call each other and talk about a topic, that's taking it one step further than what we normally do. Most of the time, we text each other a topic. And even then, that topic might not be fully put together. It may just be a concept. We don't come up with the titles until after the show has happened. And I'll give you an episode. Hold this brick. I'll tell you when to throw it. The title literally came from inside of the show. After listening to it, you know, I will say we do have a structure for producing the show. So we have a specific day we record. We have a specific time that we record. We have a specific day or days that we do editing. We have a specific day and days that we review before we post, just to catch any necessary edits that we might need to make. And we have a day that we produce. And that is our routine. When we started the show, this was just an outlet for he and I to get out some of these thoughts that we've had and discussions that we have with each other. It was never meant to be a job. And in fact, that was one of the things that we said to each other. The day that this feels like work, we stop. And it hasn't felt like work yet. And so that freestyle, that freelance flexibility that we have in the show allows for it to still remain fun.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, and I encourage everyone, check it out. Wherever you saw this posted, we're providing links to Anchor where you can check out the show and listen along. We've had some great feedback from some of the people who are watching this live on Facebook. I imagine that they're already familiar or fans of the show. And one of the things that really struck me was iron sharpens iron. And the fact that working through these conversations, working through these topics, you're taking people on that journey, you're helping them and incorporating that. How has some of the show or some of the topics or even some of the guests you've had on influenced or helped you in your personal lives as well?
For me personally, it actually just transformed my way of thinking, because although I've always been the fly by the pants kind of guy, I've actually reached a space in my life where I'm looking to be more thought out. So doing the pod has put me in two places. One, it has put me in a place where I have to apply some of the things I preach, and then I also have to apply some of the things that I'm hearing from Vic, because on a weekly basis we get good stuff. But the other way that it has challenged me personally has been just the daily almost interactions that I have with Vic. And he would probably admit it, that we kind of have a unspoken competition with each other, where it's like we try to keep pace with what the other is doing. So if he's making, if he made 6 moves this day and I made 5.5, I sucked. I didn't keep up. So it has created this sense of almost like an accountability partner for me personally, that just on a daily basis just keeps me pumping and moving, that I have to get better, I have to produce, because my partner is producing. If you follow us on any of the social medias, this guy has been on fire with the motivational posts. A couple of times I've just seen the post and I've missed who's posted, and I'm like, that has to be Vic. And sure enough, I scroll down and there it is. So it's just been a motivation and just giving me more of an accountability and a purpose to keep pushing and moving towards the things that I believe in.
Yeah. For myself, we've had a lot of amazing guests on the show. They come from our network. You talk about iron sharpens iron. One of my favorite quotes was by Grant Cardone. He says, "Your network is your net worth." I'm a firm believer in that. And so when we have a guest on, we know that we don't have all the answers. We have our own unique experiences, but our guests have their own experiences. There's a third member to this combination, and I would be probably cursed out later if I did not give her a shout out. And that's our good friend Nelsia Marconi. I call her Marconi. I'm sorry, Nelsia Straker. OJ, don't kill me. She is the third important cog to who we are, to balance us out. And she is a lieutenant, I believe, she works for Seminole County Sheriff's Department. And in that, she came on the show, and as our sister, she told us about her journey, some of the challenges she had to overcome, some of the experiences that she's had. And because of that, I learned about that career field and how to get into it. And so as I mentor young men and women, as I talk with other people who are telling me about the things that they're most passionate about, but they're not sure which direction they want to go, the experiences from our guests, we get to share with our networks. We get to share with these different people that we come in contact with, and we get to say, hey, I don't have the answers, but I know someone who does. I know someone who can help you with that. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of amazing guests. I mean, my sister, she's a nurse practitioner we've had on the show. We've had, oh my gosh, we've had financial advisors.
Friends from high school that we've, like, one of us have been friends with for probably close to 30 years, 28 years of our lives. Lawyers, We've had doctors, we've had politicians, hey, sorry guys, I didn't say you guys by name, but it's like just amazing network of people that, and that's another thing from the podcast that we hope that you come across. Most of the things that you need to be successful is literally right there within you. You have it, but it's about activating those things and putting it to work. And that's what's been so amazing about our guests is each and every one of them we have known on a personal level for some period of time. Oh, math teacher, co-founder. Go ahead.
I'll add all of our guests in every story have shared a bit of adversity that they had to overcome. They talked about overcoming fear and how to get how to break past that fear in order to discover their own purpose. And they talk about their network and the people that push them. The stories are so relatable. As much as this society may say that we are different and we have opposing sides, we are more alike than we are different. And so it's these shared experiences that allow us to help people, even if we don't directly know them.
Well, and in conversations like this and the ones you have in your podcast, it seems so obvious that we have these shared challenges, different perspectives, but we can learn from everyone. Why do you suppose it's so much harder for us to do that in our daily lives and to not rely on our network, to not share that vulnerability with others so that we can help them, they can help us? Why do you think we have to do a podcast or we have to do a show like this to help people have these conversations or realize it's okay to struggle, it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to share your successes with others?
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons. One, social media is only pushing the positives and the large gains. And so it makes people feel like if they aren't progressing, if they aren't showing these large gains and come ups, that, there's no point in them sharing what's going on. The other part to this is vulnerability is hard. When I do sales coaching, sales is all about being vulnerable because you're dealing with people and nobody wants to be vulnerable. But there's this concept they call take the trip. Take the trip. Let's say the way you see the world is different than how I see the world, right? I may think that the sky is blue and the grass is green, but you may think that the sky is green and the grass is blue. Well, if I want you to at least be more willing to understand my perspective, why I believe what I believe, I got to be first willing to take the trip to your perspective, understand why you believe what you believe, so that when I invite you to my side of the world, you'll be more willing to do that. Nobody wants to be vulnerable, and that's extremely hard, but that's where the growth comes from. If I can be vulnerable enough to go to Shane and say, hey, I don't know enough about this. Can you teach me? And more than anything, not feel like I'm going to be judged for saying I don't know. That allows me to be more vulnerable. And I think that people just got to get over that fear. Shane, I know you got some insight on this.
Yeah, I was reading the comments, keeping up with everything. It's the fear of, I think society doesn't teach us to be vulnerable or doesn't teach us to not want to be perfect, so the idea of having to, even if it's with your closest friend, the idea of having to admit to a shortcoming or a level of failure is not easy at any kind of level. So I think that's what keeps people from openly communicating about those kind of things and failures and the lack of progress or lack of success.
I'd love to, as you said that your shows don't always have any more prep than a text with a potential title. I'll do the same and spring one on you guys to see how you would respond. One of the things, and I heard this in the show, and it's something that I struggle with, is the word fail. And, primarily my day job is in IT. And there's a lot of people in agile methodology saying fail fast, fail safe. And for me, if you're learning, if you're working, if something comes out of it, even if you found out, don't do it that way again, how is that a failure? And so one of the things I struggle with is we're so bent out on anything that isn't a desired or perfect outcome is a failure. And in my mind, really the only failure is not trying. So
100%.
what does fail mean to you guys, and how does that affect you trying to achieve your purpose?
I've been working hard to fail as often as possible here recently. And this is something that I've probably in the last 2 months or so, where I've been actively putting myself in positions where I would quote unquote fail. And along with that journey of trying to fail, I am trying to replace the word fail with the word learn. Because if you learn, you never really truly fail, because you have a tangible piece of evidence that can help you in the next phase, so you don't bump your head on that rock, so you don't make that same mistake. So I think all of us getting comfortable with the idea of failing, or all of us giving ourselves the opportunity to learn, is how you actually get to that next level, and how you actually achieve and move closer to what it is you were put here to do.
Yeah. Failure is a great teacher. I played sports coming up, and my coaches always said that if you're going to mess up 100 miles an hour.
Yep.
Right. And so I try to apply that to my life. I'm married. I got 2 kids. My kids are college age. I'll be vulnerable for a minute here. When I left high school to go to college, I was this athlete that was highly recruited, and I expected to go play professional football, and everybody else expected me to do that as well. And that didn't happen, right? Huge failure. I was afraid of coming back home, to see people that expected me to have achieved a certain level of success. And when that didn't happen, I had to learn how to deal and cope with that failure. What that forced me to do is to understand that I didn't fail because my journey was designed perfectly for me to have experienced life that way. My kids, as they approach college age, they are pursuing career fields that don't require you to go to college. And it got me thinking about the ways that I believed, or at least the constructs that I thought I believed in terms of how you make it in this world. It challenged those ideas. Now, from that failure of not going professional, something I didn't share was I didn't graduate when I was supposed to graduate. I was 12 credits shy of when I left school. And so as my kids are approaching college age, and I'm telling them, you want to pursue college and you got to finish what you start, that reminded me, okay, this is a failure if you don't go back. So I went back to school, and I finished that last year. And funny enough, my daughter and I, she graduated high school the couple of weeks before I finished my getting my degree. And so I turned an opportunity, or what seemed like a failure, into a huge success. And it's a part of my story that I get to share that experience with people, to say you can really overcome anything. You just have to believe that you can. So failure and fear, I think, go hand in hand.
One of the messages that I've heard, at least in the podcast that I've been able to listen to so far, that pops up from time to time is success, your purpose, it isn't a destination. It's not suddenly one day you're there and it's over. Personally, that was the mistake I made with marriage. I'm still married. I got past it, but I thought once you got married, all the hard work was over, and everything you did, it was just going to be easy from then on. And then I'm like, man, this is a lot of work. So talk to me a little bit about helping people understand that there may be milestones, there may be achievements, times where we can stop and celebrate, but there's no magic moment when you hit success and it says winner and everything's done.
Yeah, I guess Hans, you're in my head as well. Because I just had another thought today. Today I saw on Twitter, and this was actually one of the things that blew my mind. This guy named Todd Billion, who I follow his podcast, he made the comment. He said, if and I'm paraphrasing, he made the comment, I guess you feel pretty dumb if right now you're only making $36,000 and you just own a house or something, or you're struggling to make your house payments. And it made me think about humility and understanding that in this walk, we really have to respect the fact that it is a process. Like, what if that person was only making $36,000, but they busted their butt to get to that point where they just earned that amount of money, or to get that house because they were taught that buying a house is always a good investment, which it is. I think too many times as people, we do two things. We lose focus of the purpose of the progress, and that it's a journey as opposed to a destination. And then I think once we get to the other side, people tend to forget about the process, and we start shaming people for them other processes. So I think it's key that every person understands that no two journeys are alike, and it's always about how you got there. You know, with Vic's story, he graduated with a 4.27 or something. I'm making that number up. All right. Yeah, I barely graduated high school. You know what I'm saying? So forward the clock, 15 years later, I'm graduating with a PhD, you know? So imagine if somebody would have cast me off then. So we have to respect that life is strictly about the process. And the key is that you just never stop. You know, time, we have a limited time, but your job is to not waste time and to make best of your time that you have here. But understand that every day that you wake up, you have time. And that's the key.
Yeah. Shane helps me to put this in perspective. A couple of years ago, everybody gets 24 hours. You can't make any more time. You don't get any more. The question is, what are you going to do with your 24? How do you use your 24? At one point, when the pandemic happened and it shut everything down, my schedule changed. A lot of people's schedules changed. You're working from home, and whereas before my routine was to get up in the morning and go work out, okay, I don't have to do that now. If I want, I can actually go to the gym at 10 o'clock at night because I don't have a commute, so I don't have to get up as early. You know, what you do with your 24 is totally up to you. And the lesson is in the middle. It's always about the journey, never the destination. The lessons are in the middle because those are where the memories and the moments are created. That's the stuff that's impactful, not where you finish. Talk to me about the progress and the process within the process. That's what I want to hear about because that's where I'm going to learn.
Well, another destination that you have warned people about is success isn't about being rich. It's not about money. That too often we get caught up on, my income, my wealth, my car defines how successful I am. And I felt you all have done an amazing job about talking, not about the journey, but talking about the accomplishment. And does that come back to finding your purpose? That no one's purpose is really to be rich. It is to do something else, to be something else. So how does that fit in to help people not chase the short-term financial success, but instead focus on what might be a longer or more fruitful journey?
I think the word that comes to mind is fulfillment. People get fulfilled based on what they do with the money. That's where the fulfillment comes. Shane says this, when you are able to add value to other people, that is absolutely more rewarding than, the money and that level of accomplishment. It's the ability to see something that you want. And I mean, see it so vividly that you can describe it to a T over and over to people, and then work to put yourself in position to achieve that. That that's the fulfillment part of it. And that does something for our spirit. At the end of the day, I think we're all here on this earth trying to find ways to feed our soul. That is the simple answer for me.
For me, the simple answer is if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So, for me, and money was a thing. Like, I think my perspective of money changed when I realized how much money I've actually blown. You can always find a way to make money. Money is one of those things that to me it's an easy chase, and you can always make the money. But it's about, if everything was to be stripped away, all the nice houses, the cars, the jewelry, everything, would you still be able to wake up every morning and still be happy with yourself and happy with where you are in life? And that for me is why I say that, money for me doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I would much, I tell my kids all the time, I teach high school kids, and at that age, everything's wrong with the world. I tell them all the time, there's somebody this morning that woke up under a bridge with a cardboard box, and they got up, they stretched, and they said, life is good. What are we complaining about? That's just my idea of life, kind of.
Now, don't get me wrong. I enjoy money.
Absolutely.
Money options.
and we don't want to double thumb down on ourselves. We'll take every bag that we can get. But at the end of the day, we're more driven by, and I say we because I think we speak for each other in that sense, that we're more driven by achieving our goals and our purpose, and knowing that if we're walking in those things, we're going to be financially taken care of handsomely.
Yeah. For a while, I lived, and I probably still do live by this mantra. I want to inspire greatness. I want to be a change agent that people like, love, and respect. Nothing about that has to do with money.
Well, and when it comes to money, there's a quote that was in one of Dean Koontz's book, Fear Nothing, although I might have the title messed up if that was the second in the series. But he's talking about it isn't money, it's time. And when we have money, we don't have to work as hard to survive or to get the things, but it gives us the time to devote to those things we want. And so to what Doc said a second ago, if you blow that money, you're blowing time. You're blowing the option, the ability to say, do I have to pick up this side job, or do I have to work this extra, or could I work part-time and devote half time to the podcast? And I think that rephrasing that, or looking at that as, can I get more out of my 24 if I don't have to worry about the money? And in some cases, that's worth maybe putting some things off now so that I can have more use of my time a little bit later.
Yep. That's in essence what we're all fighting for.
Yep.
Well, we all know that, we're all just starting in on this journey. You've had great success with the podcast. It comes across so professionally, and so it's like you said, it's like riding in the car with you and listening to this amazing conversation, and just so glad to be there. If things go well, where does it go from here? What are you hoping to do with the show, the audience, with your purpose? Where would you like to see this go moving forward?
I truthfully haven't thought about the next step. Personally speaking, it'd be great to get picked up by a bigger platform to have a longer reach, or maybe, be compensated handsomely for this. But it's for me right now, I'm just enjoying the ride of where we are right now in the moment, and enjoying the process of building a following and reaching more listeners and getting the emails and the text messages about, the pod. So maybe I'm short-sighted, and maybe I haven't planned far enough, and maybe I should. I want to be on iHeartRadio with the morning slot of the Purpose Addicts podcast. So I'm just throwing that out there. But, just enjoying the ride and just taking the journey for what it is.
Yeah. We're both competitive. I would love to be number one on every platform. I'd be lying if I didn't say that was what I wanted. I also want to expand our reach. And I think being number one allows us to reach a wider audience to be able to help more people in our community to grow and be better versions of themselves. But we have not talked about goals. And I think there's a part of this too. One, we have several projects on our plate with, our individual platforms as well as with our families. And as you talk about time, we've probably matured to a point where we understand time with our family is important, and we have to be intentional and be in those moments, because early in our careers, as we passionately pursued our careers, that we sacrificed that time. And so now at this stage in the game, we definitely want to be intentional with spending time. We're the type of people that if we set goals around this to grow it, the effort that we are going to put behind it is going to be exponential, right? And so we have to temper sometimes our passions around the show and let it freelance, as Shane would tell me. God will.
Yeah, let it happen. Let it happen organically. Because we're both of the mindset of, if we set the goal, we have to get it. And this is not the job yet. If somebody wants to offer us a job, and I noticed in the comments somebody put a book deal. I would love to hear the idea behind that and what you're thinking about that. I'm sorry if I diverted a little bit, but I would love, reach out to us somehow on that idea. I would love to hear more about it. But I think it's just being committed to what took us here. This not being a job, being transparent, and just helping people and ourselves get to that point where we're maximizing out on our purpose.
Well, and Seth Godin talks about this in his book, Linchpin, those indispensable people in our lives or organizations who keep things going, who help out, who always find a way of getting things done. And one of the things that stuck with me was, when you're following your passion, when you're doing something you love, he calls that your art. And for both of you, your art is helping people. It's helping each other. It's helping find the purpose and helping make the world a little bit of a better place. And so a tangent lesson that he brings onto that is, if you're doing your art and you're giving it away for free, eventually the monetization finds a way of catching up. So if you're doing it solely for I want to get picked up, I want to make money, then I think we lose a little of the art. It becomes the business. And eventually, hopefully, that audience helps support our passions and what it is we want to do, and lets us reach more people.
Yeah. There's people out here struggling who need support, who just need an encouraging word. There's enough negativity going on in the world. Like that, to me, that's what's next. We're going to continue to recruit more people to help us spread that positive message.
Fantastic. Well, I know you found at least one new fan in the audience, Amy Riddell from Toronto, who actually had connected you with, who runs a fantastic series of conferences. And hopefully you'll be able to reach more people through this channel and others. And really, that's what it's about. And so I encourage everyone out there, have that conversation with someone, whether it's at work, whether it's in personal. Take that chance and share something. You might be able to help them. And as Shane just posted in the comments here, for everyone else who is watching on another platform, we'll make sure and share that link and the recording across all those platforms so that you'll be able to see our responses as well. But not only check out the podcast, but think of people in your life who could benefit from it. Share it with them. And you never know, it might be the right message at the right time and have a fundamental impact on their life. So as we're closing out today, and I can't thank you both enough for taking time out in your busy schedules in this evening to join me here, what are some parting thoughts for the people listening out there?
Nothing is impossible. Just, every day walk it and believe with a passion that you can be and do and achieve everything that you set out to be. And please check out the pod and reach out to us and connect. Vic normally does all the plug-in, but just want to motivate you guys, let you guys know that you were put here to be special and do special things. And as long as you keep putting that right in front of that left, you can do it.
Yeah. Everyone knows that I have quotes, as some people would call them, Vicisms. So first is, fear does not stop death. It stops life. So don't let your fear keep you from living.
Preach.
The other is, as you think about the people in your circle, those people should feed you and feed your soul and should encourage you and push you to be better. However, not everybody wants to get better, and that's a choice that people make. So the last quote I'll leave you with is, if you can't change the people around you, then maybe you need to change the people around you. Outside of that, check out the podcast. Great messages. We have a good time on there, and we want to expand the audience. We always say the motto for the show is live life on purpose. We would love your feedback, so don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can catch us on all the social media platforms at Purpose Addicts. You can also email us, purposeaddicts02@gmail.com. We have our individual platforms. You can often find me, Coach Vic 14, and or Victor Nichols on most of your social media platforms. Shane, you want to share yours so they can find you individually?
Yeah, can I share mine in a quote? My individual platform is at Create and Hustle 1440. I think that's on Facebook and Instagram. And my quote is, he who opens the door, opens the door. Thank you.
Loving it. This is, I had a great time. And for everyone out there, you could reach out to them. And if you liked seeing them on this platform, in this format, we love the podcast. We know the podcast will continue. But if you loved seeing the live interaction, the ability to talk with them, let them know. Let them know if that's a direction that they should extend, into a live arena, if that's good. Until then, we'll look forward to catching more episodes of the show. So again, we'll make sure that the link is posted everywhere that this broadcast was. Want to thank everybody out there. We had 135 live viewers, which we really appreciated, and almost as many comments going on here. So everyone, please stay safe, stay healthy. And as you heard tonight, reach out that helping hand. You never know how much someone might need it, and that somebody might even be you. So thank you so much. Please have a great evening.
Thanks, Hans. Appreciate you having us on, man.
Thanks, Hans. This was awesome.
All right. Great to meet you both.